What's this? Tastes awful. If I eat this, I'll feel sick. Megan chuckled, poking fun at the dish I made. I had tried it earlier and it seemed fine to me. Megan was just being picky. Andy and I had spent 3 days getting ready for this dinner. We were thrilled when we heard that our eldest son and his wife were coming over. Looking back, Andy and I felt silly for getting our hopes up. Megan's rude behavior and Benny just going along with her wore us out. We felt distant from them. Keeping a relationship with Megan felt impossible. Maybe we need to set some clear rules with her before I talk to Megan about it. Andy reached for the dish. I'm Katie, a 70-something homemaker living with Andy. We have a son, Benny. He graduated from a fancy college, got a job in a big company, and moved to Boston. 2 years back, he said he was getting hitched. The girl he introduced as his fiancée seemed nice. Benny said after the wedding, they'd move closer to us and wanted to bond, especially Megan. We were cool with it, but wondered about Megan. Benny assured us she was thrilled and wanted to get close to us. So we were on board with their plan. Around 2 months after tying the knot, Benny and Megan stuck to their word and relocated close to us. We were looking forward to bonding with Benny and getting to know Megan better, but reality hit us hard. Benny switched from his main office to a branch in our town, thinking it'd work out fine, but life wasn't as easy. The issue was Megan's spending habits. Even when Benny was earning well at headquarters, Megan had a habit of overspending. And when Benny's paycheck took a slight hit after the transfer, Megan's spending didn't slow down. It actually got worse. No matter how much Benny brought in, Megan used up most of it, leaving them in a tough spot. Ben was never one to fuss over his looks and lived a simple life. Benny was always hustling to earn more and rarely had time to visit us. Megan wasn't around much either, making their move nearby seem pointless. Even though they were close by, we hardly ever saw them. Benny was always caught up in work, and we were hesitant to directly reach out to Megan. It felt heartbreaking knowing Benny was going through a tough time. Despite his struggles, we tried to help by sending them $1,000 every month. We wished we could give more, but with Andy retired and us living on a pension, it was all we could manage. Every time we sent money, Benny would express his gratitude, but his voice sounded weary, which pained us deeply. We wanted to support him as his parents, so we decided to help in any small way we could. On our days off, we'd spend time with him, take him shopping, and treat him to a meal. When Benny and Megan were away, we cleaned their house for them. We knew these gestures couldn't solve all of Benny's problems, but doing something felt better than doing nothing. 2 years went by, and Benny's situation didn't improve. Seeing him struggle, we felt compelled to do something. We came up with a plan to invite Benny and Megan over for a meal. Knowing Megan might not accept a simple dinner invitation, we decided to go all out and prepare a lavish feast to tempt them. When I suggested this to Andy, he hesitated because he wasn't confident in his cooking skills, but he took the initiative and even went out to buy the ingredients. To our delight, the promise of a feast did the trick, and both Benny and Megan agreed to come over for 3 days and nights. Andy and I busied ourselves with preparing the meal while Benny and Megan showed up at our doorstep in the afternoon. They appeared to unwind, shedding the stresses of their daily lives. Benny seemed particularly worn out, prompting us to offer him our bedroom to rest. As Benny headed off to rest, Megan, seemingly unaware of our cooking efforts, lounged on the sofa, engrossed in the TV. Suddenly, she strolled into the kitchen and bluntly questioned, "Why are you putting in so much effort?" Taken aback by her abrupt inquiry, we were unable to respond before she continued, "Seriously, what's the point? Are you enjoying this? If you have spare time, why not find work and make some money? Retirement must be tough, huh?" Her mocking laughter filled the room. I stepped forward. "Isn't it impolite to speak like that when you're invited for a meal? Where's your respect for your in-laws?" A little decency wouldn't hurt. Megan's face flushed red. "Are you trying to pick a fight with me? Do you think your words don't sting?" I had no intention of starting a confrontation. I simply wanted her to exhibit basic manners. However, seeing her twist my words and become defensive left me speechless. Megan, apparently satisfied with her outburst, returned to the living room. Andy looked dismayed, but we had dinner preparations to focus on, so we tried to regroup. Suddenly, from the hallway, we heard Megan's voice escalating. "Why are you always against me? Can't you support me just once? I'm your wife." Alarmed, we hurried out to see what was going on. Megan stood by the bedroom door, and Benny, who should have been resting, was there too. "Why won't you stand by me? Why are you siding with your parents?" Megan shouted, clutching Benny's shirt. Sensing the situation spiraling out of control, we intervened. "Let's calm down. What's happening here?" Andy held Megan back while I approached Benny to understand what was going on. Weary, Benny recounted what had occurred. He had been trying to get some rest in the bedroom after a long day at work, but was startled awake by a slamming door. Upon investigating, he found Megan in a state of fury. She vented about feeling harassed and labeled me as the problem. Benny was bewildered and overwhelmed. In her heightened emotions, Megan misinterpreted Benny's silence as taking our side, and she began questioning his loyalty as her husband. Benny, still groggy from sleep, struggled to comprehend the situation and felt powerless. Megan's anger only escalated upon seeing Benny's confusion, leaving him caught in the middle and visibly drained. I confronted Megan, saying, "It's not okay to wake up and yell at your exhausted husband. Do you understand how strange you're acting?" Megan, perhaps feeling trapped, mumbled a half-hearted apology, but her eyes showed no remorse. Despite the tension, we gathered around the table for dinner. We had prepared ribeye steaks and fresh seafood from the local market, trying to offer the best. Benny seemed to appreciate it, but Megan, glancing at the spread, made a sarcastic remark, "Just because you serve this doesn't mean I'll overlook the harassment." It was disheartening to hear after all our efforts. Benny tried to lighten the mood with different topics, but Megan shut down each attempt with icy comments. I told her, "You need to change your attitude," but she simply ignored me. The TV was off, so I knew she heard me. Honestly, I felt dejected realizing that she deliberately ignored me. Feeling discouraged, Andy tried to comfort me. We managed to say grace before the meal, but after Megan tasted a dish, she exclaimed, "What's this disgusting mess? I'll get sick from eating this." She laughed mockingly, leaving me speechless at her cruelty. But she didn't stop there. "You're deliberately trying to make me sick with this food, aren't you? Going to such extremes just to torment me. You're truly wicked, mother-in-law." Her words dripped with disdain, causing my hands to tremble with anger. Why must we endure this? How can Megan treat others so cruelly? Seeing Benny so exhausted, why doesn't she feel any inclination to help? Why does she brush off our kindness? I had so much I wanted to express to Megan, but the right words eluded me. However, I couldn't let her behavior continue unchecked. Sensing my frustration, Andy reached for his plate. I've remained silent until now, but I've reached my limit. Andy's usually calm demeanor transformed into something intimidating when he was angry. It had been a long time since I'd seen him so upset. With his anger still simmering, Andy declared, "I'm severing ties with you. Leave immediately." Andy's voice boomed as he confronted Megan. Even Megan appeared startled, her face paling. "What's this, father-in-law? How could you say such things to your daughter-in-law? Do you find joy in causing trouble? I never imagined you, father-in-law, would stoop so low," she shot back, tears welling in her eyes. But despite Megan's protests, Andy stood firm. "I don't care if you call it harassment. I can't consider you family anymore. Leave." Andy's words made Megan realize the severity of the situation. "Fine, I'll go. From now on, I want nothing to do with you or mother-in-law. You'll regret this," she declared, packing her belongings and departing. I asked Benny if he wanted to go after her, but he seemed resigned. "It doesn't matter," he muttered, focusing on his meal. So we opted to let her go, fearing another confrontation if Benny followed her home. We decided he would stay the night. Benny appeared relieved, preferring not to face Megan at that moment. For the first time in ages, we enjoyed some genuine family time. We swapped stories, aired grievances about Megan, and even camped out in the living room, reminiscing about old times. The cramped couch reminded me how much Benny had grown. However, our peace was short-lived. The next morning, the doorbell rang, jolting us awake. As anticipated, it was Megan. Scanning the room, I confirmed it was indeed Megan at the door. As Benny, Andy, and I debated our next move, the door was pounded loudly. "Mother-in-law, I know you're in there. Where's Benny?" "He's here, isn't he? Let him out." Megan's words filled me with dread. Handing Benny over to her now could only make things worse. So we agreed to let Megan in and have a conversation. As soon as the door opened, Megan barged in, fixing me with a hostile glare. "You think you can steal someone's husband? That's outrageous," she yelled, her anger palpable. But her accusations no longer affected me. "That's a harsh way to put it. We simply offer him a place to stay because of the way you've been treating him. He made the choice, not me. Blaming me is unfair, don't you think?" Megan's face blushed crimson. "You're the worst mother-in-law and father-in-law for allowing this behavior. Stay away from us forever." Her words held no sway over us. Andy and I were prepared to sever ties with Megan. Tension hung thick in the air until Benny's words changed everything. "I can't do this anymore. Let's get a divorce." Benny's words stunned Megan, her face still flushed with anger. "Divorce? Seriously? You're choosing your parents over me?" Her tone softened, and she pleaded with Benny, her eyes filled with desperation. But Benny stood firm. "A wife who neglects her responsibilities and parties constantly versus my parents, who've always been there for me. The choice is obvious." Megan, still unconvinced, argued, "They're just manipulating you. Once they have you, they'll abandon you too." Faceless accusations. We never abandoned Benny, but Megan, eager to portray us as villains, hysterically shouted, "You're trying to take Benny away from me. Do you hate me that much?" At this point, it was unclear how to calm her down. Then, unexpectedly, Benny slapped Megan across the face. The room fell silent, shocked. Megan struggled to comprehend what had just happened. "You've not only been a burden to me, but also to my parents. Aren't you ashamed? I hoped you'd come to your senses, but I was wrong. Please don't say such things. I love you, please reconsider. My decision is final. From now on, we're strangers. Don't ever call yourself my wife again." Megan looked defeated. No one reached out to her. Eventually, she left, realizing there was no point in arguing. In the following days, Benny stayed with us as he initiated the divorce proceedings, which were recently finalized. Megan was hesitant to sign the papers, so they had to involve lawyers. Fortunately, Benny had evidence of Megan's extravagant spending habits, which helped him secure the divorce. He also sought compensation in court. Due to his deteriorating health from stress and overwork, Benny was unfortunately diagnosed with a lifestyle-related illness. Megan's parents eventually paid the settlement, leaving Benny indebted to them. Megan now works tirelessly day and night to repay them. After the divorce, Benny continued to reside with us for some time. We wanted to give him a reprieve, especially considering all he had endured. Today, Benny has regained his footing and is working diligently as ever. While life may present him with more challenges, we will always be there for him as his parents, offering our unwavering support in every possible way.